So I was watching this video.
Uh-huh.
All right, actually, I'm just going to send it to you because I have it in my messages on my phone here somewhere, and you can just take a look here. Actually, it's probably even just easier to play it on my phone here for you. But it's just a compilation video of like, and it's short. It's like, I don't know, maybe 30 seconds, but it's dudes dying in the threshold. And for people who are listening who don't understand, the threshold is any transitory space, such as a doorway, a window, things like that. And there is this compilation. Now I can't, of course, find it, right? Because YouTube is like going to be a pain in my butt. But it was just essentially law enforcement getting stuck in the threshold at times and not moving, or some CQB military operations that were recorded, and they were not moving through the threshold effectively and getting killed. And it's not like super graphic, like it doesn't show you like, people dying. Well, I mean, it kind of does, but like you don't see them bleeding or blowing up.
Shot.
Yeah, that's the thing is like you could tell like they lost because they panicked and hesitated before going in threshold, and a lot of people don't realize that they're doing it. And that was one thing like I learned from our CQB course was that there's 2 or 3 times where I was told like, hey, like the first time I was told like, hey, you paused for quite a bit in that threshold, and no one died, but you could have died. And then the second time, I hesitated for like a millisecond, but it was still like, hey, that could have cost you your life in that moment. And then the third time I did hesitate and I got hit with what are these Orbeez?
With the gel blaster.
With the gel blast. The gel blaster got me. And it was like not even a real hesitation. You know what I mean? It was so brief. But it was a brief of like, okay, wait, that's a no shoot. Turn. That's a no shoot. And that step in, and all this happens in the span of like a tenth of a second, right? And then that step in after that momentary hesitation, even though I was on the move again, is when I got hit. And if I had just pushed in and kept moving and dealt with threat assessment after the fact, I wouldn't have been hit because I would have seen the dude with the gel blaster shooting me. But anyways, the part of that was at one point I was stacked up behind you, Pat, and I was pushing on you. And I was like, get in, because you realize too, when you're last man on stack, you can't help secure anything until the dude in front of you's through that threshold. Right. Especially on a 180 threshold like this office is. Yeah, for sure. And so I just wasn't ready to die. But I will walk you through my thinking on it as we were running these drills, going through. I do think guys were either pushing through the threshold way too fast or way too slow. Meaning, like, I guess my thought process on this one was because I wasn't standing in the threshold, as I hadn't cleared it yet, and I wanted to get an angle to see coming in. So I was a third man. We had first man in, second man in, third man in. And what I noticed, lots of us were trying to just get through the door as fast as possible, which once you make, in my mind, what I was trying to do is once you make that decision or step to go through the threshold, to move through the door, that is when, yes, that has to be like 100% speed. Like once you've committed, you got to move through it. But what was happening in some of these drills was we would say, 1, 2, 3, go. And first, second, third guy would bust through there and all just die because they would just run in the room versus like any sort of, like you can take an angle on a door and peek and see and then pie a little and then push through into a room. And so that was where I was trying to move slower. And then at that point of moving through, once we moved through,
I don't know if I did or didn't move through fast, but that was my active thought process. Now, what my body was actually doing, I don't know, because this was so new to all of us.
Yeah.
You have what you think you're doing, and then you have like the replay, and you're like, oh, well, I thought I was doing something totally different, right?
Yep.
And so that's where, for like CQB in general, I just hear a lot of guys say like, it's a lot slower than you always think. Now, standing in the door, you will die if there's somebody right to engage you. So that then, which is where, sounds like there's lots of these, the video you're referring to where you have people getting hung up in the door. So like, and in this specific room, corner fed room, we could see one angle straight down, but we couldn't see the deep side of the room. So it's a really hard room to clear because you can't get an angle,
especially with the curtains.
With the curtains and with the wall, the door is against the corner on the wall, so you can't. It's against the wall on the right side. You can't move any further right. Just try to see back to your left. But yeah, so I'd like to see videos of what I was doing versus what I thought I looked like I was doing in my head. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and what we're talking about is what we're going to be talking about kind of probably the rest of the evening, which is CQB, close quarters combat, and really fun training that we got to do this past weekend.
Yeah, it was really sick. And to your to your point, Pat, like, yeah, I had no real like firearm CQB training. I had done stuff with the sheriff department for going in and doing stuff like within the jail, and like you got your essentially like riot gear on, and maybe you got a 40 mil for firing tear gas, but everyone else just has shields and baton.
And assumably, now this isn't, not, you can't 100%, but assumably nobody with rifles pointed back at you or handguns back. You know what I mean? It's a different approach. I think it
requires the governor giving approval before any individual can go in with a firearm.
And I mean the person you're trying to take down.
Oh, like, yeah. No one I'm trying to take down has a gun, probably.
Right. So the approach is similar but different in that, like, the training, like, to what your point, what you're saying is where you've had that kind of training where you're stacked up on people. There's a procedure and a way to move through it. But then the firearm piece,
them having
with
guns,
the bad guys and the good guys having them, really changes. I mean, it's crazy. I'm curious. I never got to be the opponent. I never got to be the terrorist. Oh yeah.
And you got to be the hostiles quite a bit.
Oh yeah, that's the best.
And I'm sure the perspective of being from the hostile to then being like on a team stacked up to go in is radically different.
Smoke break.
Hey Ken, it's Mick, and I've got something important to talk about. We all hope we never find ourselves in a self-defense situation, but life's unpredictable. Enter the National Self-Protection Plan from Attorneys on Retainer, an actual credible law firm you can put on retainer for your self-defense needs. For just $35 a month, you get national coverage in all 50 states for criminal and civil legal representation in self-defense situations, complete with a 24/7, 365 toll-free emergency line. That's real legal support when you need it most. What's in the package? Bail bonds, scene cleanup, firearm replacement, even mental health counseling. Plus, 0 fees for a laundry list of defense-related costs like expert witnesses. So support the show and get yourself some peace of mind. Click the link in our show notes or visit our sponsors page to sign up for the National Self-Protection Plan from Attorneys on Retainer.
Hey folks, Pat here. If you're like Mick and I, you're a fan of classic tales like Lonesome Dove, Blood Meridian, The Three-Body Problem, and Steinbeck's East of Eden. With Audible, you can dive into these epic stories anytime, anywhere. Sign up for a free month, and your first audiobook is on the house. To start your free trial and support our show, click the link in the show notes or swing by the sponsors page on our website.
Want an awesome website for your podcast? Check out Podpage. We use it for the Mick and Pat show, and it's a game changer. Set it up in minutes, no coding needed. Support the show by using our link to get started. Your podcast deserves a home as great as ours. Podpage, the one-stop solution.
Oh yeah, like I would say like, and we'll get into more of like how we, maybe the progression of how we trained, what we did, but like honestly, like I'd have killed everybody every time.
Yeah,
as the hostile.
Sure.
Just from the like, you have just the advantage of being set in a position pointed at a 3 foot wide
threshold
door where someone's coming through in a threshold, and that's where CQB's scary and very, 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 very hard to do, especially if your opponent is
aware you're
coming through there and armed or equally armed to what you're doing. And so and if you're we'll get into it more, but if you're in more of like a civilian environment versus a tactical war environment where you have things like grenades and Overwatch and thermals, all these other things that like you're like, that you're using. So I was surprised how bad I was at it.
I think everybody was.
You know what I mean?
I think everybody, regardless of even people who had done it before, were surprised at like, I mean, that was one thing we did do. Like, I remember we did it a couple of times with our trainers stacked up with us. The trainers died just as much as we did.
Right. Because
it's effing CQB, bro.
For as cool as they looked doing the demonstrations.
Yeah.
Right. And they did look smooth. They did look good, but it's just, that's why, like, I mean, the guys I've talked to who have done the real deal, they're like, it's scary every time.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of guts to go through there every time you do it.
Before I forget, hey, Ken, welcome to the show. If you're listening, we appreciate you. If you're not tracking what's going on, we did a close quarters combat training here at the headquarters where we had ourselves and a good, probably another 15 homies, plus a couple instructors show up and run through the course together. And the instructors were all former military. 3 of them were like former airborne and did, the real stuff, training for it in Afghanistan. And then 2 others, I believe, I can't remember what their MOS were, but they had worked together in like 2-man CQB teams and such like that. So guys with some real skills and stuff, and could actually properly assess you and give you feedback on, a legitimate, almost like one-on-one thing. Cause we were running teams entering in of like either 4-man or 5-man teams entering in. And then you'd have pretty much 3 to 5 instructors watching and reviewing what you did. And you'd pretty much almost always get one-on-one feedback of like, hey, this is what you did. This is what you did good. This is what you did that got you killed. Stuff like that. But anyways, here is the video that you can play. And it immediately starts off with a bang, bro. This is a ATF guy with an MP5 trying to get in through a curtained window. And you can tell he's ATF, not only by his like stuff, but also by how poorly trained he is.
Gosh. Yeah, let's see here. Oh man. Oh.
Yep.
Where were those other shots coming from? Were they coming through the wall?
Through the wall, dude.
Yeah.
We'll scroll through these videos kind of and kind of break them down a little bit just from what we learned. But I just wanted Pat to see like these threshold videos because it does show what we were being taught. And even though we didn't see anything like this, of course, you can't learn this while being taught the course. You see it applied and you're like, oh, shoot. Okay, I can see how what they were training us, if you fail to do it, leads to people dying.
Yeah, and the other part, not knowing about,
yeah, that cop just got shot in the head.
And then the other guy just ran away.
Yep.
That dude just ran away.
By the way, don't stack up outside of giant, massive windows in the daylight.
And the other thing people forget about is like just that stuff goes through walls so easily.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, that's the thing is like a window's not going to stop a bullet from hitting you, but people treat windows like they're, what is it? Cover instead of concealment.
Right. So yeah, it's I'll say the way, especially that second group moved, is surprising. Like, I don't want to say like maybe we were moving better.
I mean,
upon entry.
I was told by the end of the day that the improvement on everyone's part was pretty massive.
Mm-hmm.
And I just sent you these so you can kind of scroll through them with me. And, perhaps our editor, Craig, will have these videos in the podcast video this week.
That's a good point.
But first one up is, of course, like just this ATF guy hanging out front, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is just a good place to start to kind of break through like CQB training, what we learned, right? But he's on a roof outside of a window. He's trying to pull a curtain back so he can see inside and decide if he wants to go in or not. And the whole thing is whoever's in that room, because this guy's outside in daylight, is clearly seeing a silhouette of someone with an MP5 trying to get in through that window.
Mm-hmm.
And they just start firing rounds off through the wall. And I assume the rounds are further back initially because they're assuming there's other dudes stacked up with him.
Mm-hmm.
And you start seeing the rounds. The first couple rounds go off behind him, totally oblivious. He's like, damn, there's gunshots. Boom, gets hit in the shoulder. And he goes down covering his face while more rounds are flying through, right? And it's one of those things of like, this guy's really lucky that the guy thought, I'll throw these first 7 rounds through the wall at where the other dudes are stacked up.
He had a clean ladder slide.
It was a pretty clean slide down.
he was getting the heck out of there.
I think this just shows if there's anything the ATF practices, it's retreating. The second video is these police stacked up outside of like an apartment condo, and there's 3 of them bunched up. They break a door down and they're pieing from, and this is what they were training us in CQB, right? This is what they really went over, and we got to see firsthand when one of the instructors was like, hey, I'm going to pie this corner so you guys can see what happens. And he immediately got domed by a gel blaster.
Right in the face.
Right in the face, and went down and like, he literally said when he went down, he's like, this is an example of why you don't want to always pie, especially if you're looking from a bright environment into a dark environment.
And pieing being like, layman term would be like just holding your gun up and like kind of moving left to right, looking slow around the door.
Yeah. If you think of the door as a threshold and the door's open now, you can only see so much if you're standing flush against the wall. And if you slowly come off the wall an inch to your left or right, whichever direction would move you across the front of the doorway, you're going to see a little bit more of the room, like every step, every inch. And you're that's called slicing it. And you're getting a slice of this 180 degree field of view beyond the door. And it's advantageous actually to pie corners and pie doors when you believe, you're probably searching for someone, but there could be hostiles, or like search and rescue scenarios because you don't know what could be over there, such as like debris or an animal or something like that. And pieing the door is also really excellent, and especially like in a scenario where you have one threat and they're like in the corner of the room and you already have a positive ID on them, and you're just making sure, okay, are there any other civilians, any other like non-hostiles that might be in the area? And I would say it's even more advantageous if imagine standing outside a house or a warehouse, so it's not creepy, and they have their garage bay open and the lights on inside, and you're out and it's dark out. They look outside, they can't see you. They just see the light, spilling out into the first 10 feet of their driveway. But you can go across the full breadth of that transition, that opening, that threshold, and you can get a lot of you can essentially see a lot of what's going on without having to expose and reveal yourself. When you're pieing from the bright side into the dark side, you're just a silhouette, and good luck seeing something when your eyes are used to like the really bright like exterior or interior, right? So and that's what happens in the second video.
Yeah, and in this case of this video too, like he wasn't pushed far enough. Like he was standing in the middle of the door. So like pine too, like
go ahead.
He wasn't pushed all the way to be where he needed to be either. Like
I mean, it's a wall, so he doesn't really have cover. But yeah, he had no real concealment. He's
right. But I mean,
and silhouetting himself completely.
Yeah, as that door opens up, he's just standing in the middle. Versus, he either needed to switch that rifle over so that it's first, also because that's the other thing too. There's methods to all this too. Where this guy, he stuck his head around first, versus his head's getting visual before his rifle is.
Yeah.
Right. Versus switching or pushing over to the side. And it's like. It's hard to know what to do because it's a bad situation. But there
I'll tell you what they
a couple things
done,
he could have done there to be send a dog.
No, I think the most obvious thing here is that they ram that door with a battering ram.
Mm-hmm.
No one goes in, and everyone's hesitating and everyone's choked up.
Mm-hmm.
And they should have rushed that room, all four of them.
Mm-hmm. They needed it,
because it's clear the shooter here wasn't ready to take that shot until he felt real good about it.
Right, it's a go or no go. And that's where the same thing where once you're in the door,
mm-hmm.
you need to go in.
Yep. I mean, and I've seen stuff also too where they'll do something to distract, or even just corner fire one of these windows out and
mm-hmm.
toss a flashbang or a smoker or anything in,
mm-hmm.
just to grab someone's attention right as you cross threshold and go in through the door.
Oh, for sure.
And the fact that they open this and no one goes in, there's a ton of hesitancy.
Open it again because the door's closing on them.
Yeah,
they're not really they don't really officially have someone in charge of the door or someone who's pushed all the way to the side. And watching this video too, like we were saying at the beginning of the show, it's like I'd like to see what I looked like versus what I thought I was doing.
Hey, the video's on its way out.
But yeah, that's true. That's
doing
true.
a lot of editing right now.
But in this guy's case, he's doing his thing. He's thinking about a billion things. He probably thinks he's on it. He's not.
Nope.
From somebody like me who's really has zero experience watching it, going, here's 5 things he did wrong.
Sure.
And so but in general, standing in the door. Also, bro who ran away.
That's the thing too, man, is if you all push in, it's a lot harder for your homies to leave you.
Yeah. Oh,
you know what I mean?
goodness.
If you're all in that room together with the mindset of we're pushing in, we're getting this guy,
mm-hmm.
then you're less likely to probably leave one of your homies up there to die and abandon them. The next video though is a classic one of standing in the threshold, exchanging fire back and forth, and then rather than committing and going forward or falling back, dude just stands behind a wall, and that wall is not explosive proof. And that was something we did where I remember a lot of people were some people huffed and puffed, but it was when we were doing 2 4-man stacks, and one of the stacks went up the stairs here to the office,
mm-hmm.
and then they hit the door, and the instructor's like, "You're all dead." And why? He's like, "It's a bomb." It was a scenario of a bomb or explosive on the other side of the door.
Mm-hmm.
Which, yeah, it's cheating. It was well, we're not doing bomb defusal today. But the purpose of that was to simulate, can the team who first came in and secured then now transition to fill and secure the upstairs, because everyone who was supposed to secure the upstairs
mm-hmm.
just got freaking, became a casualty.
Yeah.
And it was also a point made of when we were practicing breaching and examining a door before going in,
mm-hmm.
it was one of those things of made of if you lean up or touch that door too much or knock on it or hit the handle too much, testing to see if it's unlocked, there's a good chance you're just going to start taking rounds through the freaking sheet metal.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you accidentally test that door handle and open the door and it is tripped or something, you
mm-hmm.
just now tripped the explosive and you're all boned.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just one of those things that I was wow, okay, there's a lot that we were going over that I saw a couple eye rolls at that day.
Mm-hmm.
And then now I'm seeing this footage and I'm like, damn, bro,
mm-hmm.
it's actually it can be like that in some environments.
Mm-hmm.
Not an environment I foresee myself getting into.
Right.
Here's my thing. I never, ever want or plan to CQB.
Right. And because it's on the offensive side too.
It is on the offensive side. And I can't even think, I'm thinking somehow if I'm alive in a world without rule of law,
mm-hmm.
We're talking end of the world as we know it stuff, and our women have been kidnapped and they're in some house or
mm-hmm.
cave
mm-hmm.
and we have to go get them back. I think that's the only way I can see myself doing CQB. Otherwise, I'm like, they have to eat and get water too. We'll just pick them off there. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to run through my head like a real scenario where I'm like, ooh, it's a matter of time. Carpe diem. First one to get action is going to win this and clean them out. Yeah. Like, no way, dude. You go, even if it's like 3 Bubba Fudds with hunting rifles and shotguns, you try going into that house with a equal force or less. I highly doubt John Wick is not real. That was the biggest thing I learned from CQB.
Right.
It's like, there is no universe where John Wick lives in the first movie.
Or the first scene when they come into his house. Yeah. And so, definitely. And I will say the most applicable stuff about this is the mindset ability to, in the moment, make the right choices, not get panicky, be able to keep your head on your shoulders. But then also you could say the other most like applicable thing would be clearing your own house from the inside.
For sure.
That'd be like
a home intruder, and you're like, gosh damn, my kids are in the basement. I need to go floor to floor till I get to them.
Exactly. That would be the most applicable for like the actual style or method of like, that movement through something.
Because I'll be honest, if a home intruder came into my house now and Billie Jean and I are in bed,
you're just going to lock the door and call the cops and sit barricaded until either they come through that door and they get smoked, or
I might whistle for Takani to come up.
Yeah, but
I would call her up, and if she doesn't respond, then I'm like, all right, they killed my dog. Right. I'm smoking people.
Or she's asking them to pet her.
Yeah, that's true. But it is one of those things where, like, even if there's a home intruder, do I see myself doing CQB? Not unless I can't, like,
unless between you and
a loved one.
Unless they're between you and something you need.
Yeah.
Like a gummy bear. Or like I've got leftovers. I got leftover steak in that fridge. Be damned.
You're not taking my steak.
They get my leftover.
You're not taking my Dungeons and Dragons.
Exactly. But yeah, so it is, I will say, like, the real world applicability of what we were doing is going to be very rare. Very, very rare. Especially unless you really seek out a lifestyle where
unless you're law enforcement,
right,
military.
Exactly. Like, that's what I'm saying, where you're seeking that out.
And even then, like, we just see so many videos of these law enforcement guys who shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah. Or just
got no good reason.
Or you just never end up in that situation.
Hopefully.
Right. And so I think when I talk to law enforcement or military guys, really the guys who I think are really have matured through this they're on the back end of the coolness of it, which I'll be honest, I'm on the front end of the coolness of it.
Yeah, like, this is sick.
I think it's dope.
I want to keep on practicing. I never want to have to do it in real life.
Exactly. But the guys who are on the backside of it, who are really like been there, done that type of stuff, like, the one word they always tell to me is mindset. Like, mindset. Like, I don't care how good you are at your marksmanship or your like any skill you have. Like, I really don't care what you have, but your mindset in a situation and your ability to maintain that mindset in a high stress environment is the number one thing that is most important and most looked for and needs to be most trained. And I think what's cool about that is you can take this thing that I think is fun and cool to do and, clearing through a warehouse, and actually stress test yourself to a point where just other areas of life also you can, like, it's not seeing a no shoot target. It's also being like, all right, there was a 4-car pile up. I just came up on the scene and I'm not losing my shit. Yeah. Right. Like, that kind of like that mindset ability, and I think that's the most valuable thing to take away from doing these trainings. And the most, I'd say, short of, if you find yourself in the situation, then yeah, good to have all of it. But the most likely case of needing these things would be just your mental state and ability to cope in the moment. That being said, I do still kind of think it's cool and I like doing it.
It is really, really sick. If like people who just don't know like what the hell we're talking about, just watch a couple forward observation CQB videos and you'll see what it looks like when you are like very, very highly trained, squared away, and working with a team. And even in a couple of his CQB videos, instructors are correcting him and his team on things that would have got guys killed or something.
Right.
And that's like what you see in those videos are professorate level expertise. And what you see, like what we did is like elementary to maybe, I think we got to middle school. I think we got to middle school by the end of the day.
I think we showed up to orientation. Depending on your like
high school orientation.
No,
what are you talking?
I think we showed up to like this is what this is. Kind of like meaning like I think because it.
You don't even think we got out of 5th grade?
Well, it depends on what like we're judging by. Meaning.
Sure.
Okay,
I'm talking about. I think what I'm talking about is understanding of what it is, how to do it, and how to recognize what went wrong and where to improve.
And that's where I do think if we're taking like a large scale, like 30,000 foot view on this, I think that was a weekend training camp before you go try out for football. And like because here's what I'll say.
What kind of football are we talking about? I'm saying
I'm saying this is before you like, because let me break this down just real quick because
yeah.
For folks, like you hear things like SEAL Team 6,
got Osama bin Laden.
You hear things like Delta Force.
Yeah.
You hear things like HRT. That's the FBI's hostage rescue team. And then you hear things like boiling it down even way further would be like SWAT, whatever. So like those big three I just talked about, basically their job is CQB. Like that
all
is
the time.
Like that's their own like so whenever you hear like
nowadays, it used to not be, but that's where war is at currently.
Because what we've moved to with it, so meaning like these guys who are the pinnacle of this of anything that's cool stuff, those are the teams who are on it. They're doing CQB and CQB is their mission. Like there is such a specific like that's not even how you fight a war. Like now it's a piece of how you fight a war, but like so like it's such a tiny little scalpel or like microscopic like tool in the bag of war fighting, but those teams get the most recognition and the most like lore or like prestige, right? And so like if we're going on that level of what does it take to be, if you want to be in the most elite quote unquote groups in American military, you got to be the best CQBer on the planet.
Well, yeah.
So now taking that now, so that's when I say we showed up to.
That's NFL,
right?
I think we did elementary school,
right? Yeah, and so I think I do think also I'd say compared to your average Joe out there, we leveled up, right? So, but just to be like, there is still like, there's guys who like, even taking out all those big three teams, there's just guys who eat, sleep, and breathe this whole thing. And I think that we got a really cool peek into that world, and so like, and now from here, if you want to keep doing it, now it's time to, now you progress, now you learn, now you break it down into tinier little, you microanalyze this, that, and the other, you get good at, where literally taking one step through a doorway could have 50 things you did wrong. Okay, now we're going to break that down. And so like I do think from where we started that day when we came in, now we do have a understanding of the process, how it works, what we do, but it's just like, one, obviously reps are important, but then two, doing them good is important. And so I think depending on how you look at it, yes, we got like I think we got through elementary school with it, like to your point, but then also like to this other, like what the world of CQB means, there is still like a lot to do if you want to like keep moving through that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. And like, I think like, cause I think elementary school is pretty much like, cool. You showed up with the tools Now, let's just get to the point where you're not actually, like, I think elementary school is like, can we get to the point where you're not killing your homies with the tools?
Right.
Where you're not causing where you're not a hiccup and like, you know how to do it and you know, like, okay, the only way anyone's dying is if the bad guys get us.
Right.
Because now we're squared away enough that we know the process and the maneuver and like what the roles are and how to identify where to fill in. And I would say most people graduated elementary school.
Yeah.
At the end of that day.
And like for where it started in the morning to where we left in the end of the day, it was night and day difference on people's ability to move through that.
For sure. And I'll say one thing too, like I think, I don't know, I didn't count it right, but I definitely think I quote unquote died. As in I would have gotten, I failed to find and identify a shoot target. And this was before we even like having instructors call out, you're dead, right? This was just like things that I noticed on myself. There was like, I'm pretty sure 6 or 7 times where I was like, okay, I died. And I know why I died. I know how I died. It wasn't a cheat thing. It wasn't like, well, no, I said bang, bang. You know, it wasn't anything like that. It was like, I did not cover that corner because I just assumed someone else was. And now me and that guy both died.
Yep.
And and like, that is the most valuable thing there. And I think like the introductory training, right, is like you're going into a space. Just think of it as like an open rectangle. And in an open rectangle, how many angles are there? There's going to be 4.
Yeah.
And you're going in through the door. Maybe it's a corner door. All right. You get to almost eliminate one, but not really because the dude's on the back side of that door in that corner. And so like, it's all about just like making sure you're understanding of like, are you aware of who is handling what? Are they still handling it? Are you handling your area of coverage? And if you're down, did someone move in to cover you? If someone else went down, were you aware of it and listening and paying attention and able to transition to fill their need? And that was honestly, I was told that was our goal. I was told by the end of the day, if you can get to the point where you can recognize the need and fill the need, we've succeeded today. And I think we got there. Yeah.
And I think it was crazy too, as we progressed through the day, we started with just like your basic cardboard targets. And this was all no live fire, just pointing our gun and saying bang.
We had bolts out of ARs or we had individual designated instructor went through and checked each and every single one of the mags to make sure there was no ammo on site in the facility. People were told not to bring ammo anyways. No one even had ammo in their concealed carry.
Right.
And so it was like we were super squared away.
Yep. And so but as we did this, as we added in more and more layers of complexity, once we added in having real combatants or just real people involved, like that showed you how fast the chaos gets real. When it was, am I supposed to shoot this guy? Am I not? Okay, now, but I'm not supposed to shoot him, but I at least need to handcuff him or get control of him, and I still can't trust him. It was the how
I shot some civilians.
Right.
I shot some civilians. There was straight up one time where I was yelling at this instructor who could be a hostile, could not be a hostile. I was like, show me your hands. And like, he's like looking at me, reaching his hands behind me. I'm like, show me your fucking hands. And I just start pulling the trigger. I'm like, bang, 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 bang. And he goes down and falls. And as he falls down and stretches his arms out, I just see a Gatorade bottle roll away rather than the gel blaster. And I was like, shit.
Yeah.
That one's on badge cam though. I told him to show me his hands and he kept on reaching. I didn't have a choice. There's literally a dead guy with a gun right next to him. Like, what was I supposed to do?
No, yeah. It just shows you, it's just like those little additions of realism go to show like where it's like, oh my gosh, this is really
so stressful.
It's not a video game. It's not like, it doesn't just play out easy. It's like, there's a lot that could happen. Also, it's funny with some of the guys who we had here, some guys were like playing airsoft instead of training, in that like, they'd be like, bro, no, like I shot you, you're dead.
Yeah.
And it's like,
there's a little bit of going back and forth with calls, and I'm like, you don't get it.
Yeah. Like,
you both like, shot each other.
Yeah. Like, no, like you died.
Very
like,
likely. Right, you're bleeding on the floor.
Yeah. And so like I didn't feel it. It's like, no, bro, like you died. But you know, so
you didn't feel it either when it was 308.
Right.
Like,
which,
you know what I mean?
Which all they're doing is, in that case, is like robbing themselves.
Yeah.
Because if you win at training,
you don't
but
learn
you
anything.
cheat or not, and cheat's a strong word there, but like, and you just kind of like, you know, don't take that part, like, don't take it seriously that like you failed, or don't take criticism. Then when it really happens, doesn't matter that you trained.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I think one thing I really loved was like, I told the lead instructor, I was like, and I told a couple of his guys, and two of his guys really responded super positively to it. But I was like, hey, please, 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 please help me see where I choke up. Like, and I would go out of my way to ask them after each run I did. I was like, so I did this because I thought this was the right call. Is that good or is that bad? Was that the right call? Was that the wrong call? And there's a couple times where you're like, yep, I get what you're saying, and I understand why you think that. It was the wrong call, and here's why, and let's play it back. And then there was a lot of times where I felt awesome because I was like, I did this, and they're like, that was the right choice. That was squared away. And I was like, oh man, like I'm on cloud 9 because I feel like I'm getting it. I feel like I'm learning it. And still, even after those ones where like I was told like, hey man, you made the right call, there's still 3-4 times where I got freaking shot in the face. You know what I mean? Like, like right after that. And it was super insightful and very rewarding. And the way was so dynamic, which I thought was like just a props to like our environment here. Like our environment here, everyone said throughout the day, this is hell. This is a nightmare. Right. This would suck to do like real life CQB in. Because you got, 2 levels, and you got guys who can essentially have concealment while having eyes on you. I mean, there was that one time, Pat, where you were playing, Op 4, and you were in the freaking cupboard, and you came out after we had pretty much secured the ground floor and getting ready to leave. And you opened the cupboard doors and started shooting at people, and it was sick because I saw you get lit up with flashlights and lasers and riddled.
Oh yeah.
But it was one of those things where it was like, who on ground floor didn't clear that?
They didn't check it. Yeah,
no one checked that.
Right. And that was the whole, I love being the bad guy because, one, you're so calm as the bad guy. You don't even. It's so funny, like how like other guys like.
I was literally like, that. I wasn't stressed, but I was
your heart rate was kind of
my heart rate was up every time I stacked up outside the door. Especially when I was in first place,
and you're overthinking every single like
it's gonna be so dark.
Yeah,
it's gonna be so hard. And we had the window covered to the door, so you can't see any. You can't cheat through the window at all.
Yeah, and I'll say too, since it snowed that day,
slippery.
It was so bright, and we came into a dark room. Really was. So the transition from light to dark was. I mean, we're in there with our eyes adjusted. And you're busting through a snow white, door, and like I'm just sitting in there happy that I'm about to shoot somebody with a gel blaster.
How many times did you get to stack up outside and come in?
Outside, I think I did it at least over 5, like over a handful of times. Right, yeah. So like I
got a good exposure.
I got the reps in, but then
there was literally like at the end of the day, I noticed I was getting eye strain.
Oh yeah,
like from going so bright outside and like. My eyes adjusting to that and then coming in, and it was weird, man. Like it like was legit felt like camera exposure in my eyes with how long it took for my eyes to adjust sometimes by the 20th rep.
Right. Yeah, because you guys ran a lot, and I ran inside a lot because I really like just
it's also your
targets.
Space too.
Yeah, and like setting up targets, setting up traps, like rethinking like what's going to happen to guys, and it's just fun. Yes, but it's what's funny about that is one, totally calm, totally relaxed, like just smiling on my face because I know I'm about to gel blaster somebody, and then and then the other piece being when you guys are coming in and everything's happening, just watching it unfold, watching how guys come through and seeing, I did enjoy too, like watching guys improve and watching some guys like making the right calls and like doing the right stuff all the time. And also I enjoyed when one guy snuck past me and he didn't see me and I shot him in the back of the head. And he was so like
you can see it.
He was just like, dang it. Like, because
it's not just like, oh, fudge.
Mm-hmm.
I got hit with the Nerf dart. I got hit with airsoft. It's like, man,
I died.
I'm dead. Like, I am legit dead because that was the weirdest feeling, like doing it over and over. And like when you died, I mean, some guys, like you said, weren't taking it like serious, but like for me, every time I was like, gosh, like I am not as good as I think I am. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not immortal. I'm not John Wick. And like, this is an insane like reality experience to be like majority of the time I'm dying when it's CQB.
Yep.
And the first 5 runs, there were no targets at all. It was just like, no targets, just make sure the space is clear. And so it was like, those are a gimme. I didn't get shot at the first 5 times. After that, it was like over 50% of the time I died.
Yeah, we ramped it up pretty fast on that. And I will say, for the guys who like, I do think everybody took it seriously, but some people took themselves more seriously than the training.
Yeah.
Right? So like, just kind of like and so it just,
you're right. Everyone did take it seriously.
Like, they take it seriously, but like, just like the piece being, if you pull your ego out of it all the way, you're going to get so much more out of it just by letting it happen. And I
will say too, I think the ego part can be hard sometimes because I'm very used to the very curt, blunt correction from instructors. I'm used to an instructor grabbing me by like the head and being like, what is your malfunction? You know what I mean? Like, unfuck yourself. And like, so like, that's not alien to me. There was definitely, I saw a couple times where like these instructors that we had were, they're great dudes. I think they're great dudes, right? But they definitely were a little too curt, perhaps, or maybe too indirect with and it came off as indirect because they're assuming this person has the previous experience and knowledge to understand what they're trying to get them to learn or like realize. And there was moments where like I could see they're like, what are you doing fucking wrong right now? Look around. What are you doing wrong? And like, they're talking to someone who's never had to look around in a warehouse with other dudes with guns and assume, like, figure out like what they're doing wrong. You know what I mean? And so, and like, I saw just some people literally short circuit, which isn't I don't think that's something against those people. But I do think that's like part of the learning experience, and something to understand is like, when you're dealing with people who teach these kind of courses, CQB and things like that, you're going to be dealing with people who have not had to approach it from a inexperienced civilian mindset in a very, very, very long time. Right.
Or even like taking CQB, I was just being like, one person grew up and is indoctrinated into the military. The other guy is not.
Yep.
And doesn't know that, like, especially like, let's say if someone came up to you and they just said, you know, like, what the fuck is your damage? You know, like, did your mom drop you on your head as a child?
Yeah.
You know, and gave you the full, like, the drill sergeant ripping. In certain areas of life, most areas of life, those are fighting words.
Yeah.
Versus like in a
corrective words.
Or no, but it's like, I think that, like, I'm totally should be offended by you, and I should be offended that you said that to me.
Yeah.
But from guys who came from the military standpoint, they're like, no, like, that means I love you.
I'm trying to preserve you. I'm trying to preserve you and sustain you.
Like, this is what I said. Like, no, you said to go fuck myself. And he's like, no, I said I love you. Like, I thought that's what I said. He's like, no, you said to fuck myself.
Sir, you said we all look like a bunch of monkeys humping a football.
Yeah, exactly. He's
what?
Like,
no, I said I want the best for you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like, so that's where, like, the breakdown there is, you know, just like a...
And that's okay. That's okay. That's just something I think both you need to prepare yourself when going to get this kind of training. And whether it's CQB or just like, you know, other kind of military instruction or law enforcement instruction like this. But I will say I'm curious to see your opinion on this from being the, you know, Op 4 side so much. So I used the Flux Raider. I went Flux Raider and I have a very, very discreet, low profile pistol mag chest rig, essentially, that it can fit about like 5 30-round pistol mags pretty easily, and it's got also room for like tourniquets and chem lights or whatever. And then I have my backpack, which would have the soft armor level 3+ in it. And that was pretty much my profile. And with the Flux Raider, dude, I never had to swap sides to clear corners, really. I could just kind of adjust with the way my head was positioned on it. I could just angle my Flux to go left eye or right eye, depending on which side I was peeking, right? And the Flux Raider is such a small, compact position. Was like, there's a couple times where I actually didn't deploy the brace.
That's because you could pull it. Yeah, you could pull it off your shoulder or not have it deployed and push around that way.
Well, I would have it on the single point sling and just up to go around left or up to go around right corners. And I saw a lot of guys with like really bad handling skills for their ARs. Like everyone else was pretty much running ARs. I think I was the only person not running an AR.
Besides me.
Well, yeah, you were running caulk gun, and people loved it. Pat had a caulk gun with a red dot and a flashlight on it. It was awesome. People thought it was the sickest thing in the world.
I was proud of it.
Yeah, I could tell you were humble about it there in the moment, but I could tell you're like, you were loving how much people appreciated it.
I did. I appreciate the attention.
But it was. I knew it was a good idea the moment you told me you were going to do it. I'm like, that's sick. Yeah, that's sick as hell.
Yeah, but everybody else was running like basically 16-inch ARs, and if it wasn't, it was 16-inch because they had a suppressor on it. You know,
yeah,
you know
or they had like
nobody had anything
their pistol
short.
ARs, but their pistol ARs were like not that crazy short. They were still. I think the smallest one I saw was like a 12.5.
Yeah.
All that said, though, there was a lot of guys I saw one-handing their AR while moving and like holding their AR by the grip up in the air while going up the stairs and putting their hand out to rails. I saw a lot of guys. I mean, it was unreal how many dudes got freaking flagged.
Oh yeah.
Like just people not aware, their tunnel vision in, looking at their sights, and they just are like pointing their barrel at the back of another homie. Which again, this is a safe environment to be doing that. It's a training environment. Bolts are removed. Magazines are empty and unloaded. Even if a round somehow found its way in the chamber, it can't go bang. If you don't understand how it can go bang from the terms we're using, just watch a video of how an AR works.
Right. We made it safe, and for the purpose that we knew this was going to happen.
Yeah, we knew there was going to be a lot of flagging, and we knew there was going to be guys role playing out before who were going to be getting guns pointed at their faces because they were going to be the bad guys. All that said, still, it was one of those things where it's not like it happens. Like I caught myself 2 times. I'm sure it happened more than 2 times, but there's 2 times where I caught myself flagging someone. Both those times though was because they crossed into my field of fire, and from my perspective, I'm like, bro, can't you see my flashlight and like me pointing my gun this direction? But you just get tunneled in, man, and you forget. And of course, you can't see someone else's flashlight because it's not like a lightsaber.
Right.
It's an invisible beam of light until it's on the wall. And so there was just a lot of things like that where I noticed I was like having to maneuver my firearm to avoid flagging someone. There's other times, man, where I just saw so many guys just straight up like, I mean, just bad rifle skills. I think not the number one most lethal one, I would say, but the number one most common. The number one lethal one is you're just stacking up with your gun pointed at the back of your homie, or you're going through the thresholds with your gun pointed at a homie, and you're just unaware of it. The most often one I saw was people taking their dominant hand off of their weapon platform, whether that's their right or left hand, in order to signal or tap or instruct, rather than taking their support hand off of. So they're calling or signaling to the person behind them, hey, let's move, hey, let's go do this. And they're taking their hand off they're taking their dominant hand rather than their support hand off their firearm to do that instruction. And it's like, bro, what are you going to do if you're taking your strong hand, your dominant hand off your firearm and signaling to the person and then rounds start ripping through that door. You ain't got your hand on the trigger.
Yeah.
You know? But I'm curious to hear your perspective, because there's so much I saw from the side of like, dude, homie in front of me just killed first man. First man just got domed to the back of the head. Like, and then there was things I saw from filming, because I was getting a lot of good footage of the event to edit a video. And I saw a lot of guys just coming in with like bad maneuverability on their rifles. And personally, I'm just like, I'm a civilian. All these dudes are civilians. None of these dudes are cops. None of these dudes that came to the training are going to be cops. None of them, like a couple of them are active duty, but not in like this kind of, you know, field of work active duty. And so with that, I honestly don't think any of these guys really should be training. Not that they shouldn't. I don't think it's the most valuable training to be training on an AR platform like this for CQB, because that's the likelihood they will be doing CQB with their rifle is so infinitesimally small that I think it'd be more advantageous if we did it with like pistols or flex systems or whatever like their most realistic thing is. And there's one dude I know who brought the AR that he legit carries in a bag in his car. And he's like, yeah, if I'm doing CQB, it's with this thing, because it's in the car and it's ready to go there, and I'm grabbing it so that way I'm not just have to run it with my pistol.
Right.
But, you know, it is just one of those things where I saw, I'm like, dude, you're not, in no world are you running CQB with your AR unless it's your house.
Right. And even still, probably not. Right. And so, and I saw all those things that you were just talking about, and I think that to your point about the weapon system used in the moment, I do think that the most advantageous training would be around pistols, or heck, even pump shotguns.
Shotties, yeah. I was just thinking the same thing. I was like,
being like, what is
80s.
And all these guys might be like saying, bullshit, I keep it next to my bed. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Also don't. But like because at the end of the day too, because we had the gel blasters, we had these little pistols, and I think by the end of the day, some of the guys were pretty keen on them because
I knew a lot of guys were like, where do I get those?
Yeah, because yes, it's not, you're not going to get actual marksmanship training with these, but movement drills and
CQB ranges is pretty hard to miss. It's a lot faster than a Nerf dart, a lot more accurate than a Nerf dart.
Yeah, exactly. And so the ability to movement with a team, the safety aspect, which is nice too. Like, yes, we pulled bolts and pulled everything, but 100% no one's dying from a gel blaster.
Yeah.
No matter what happens, right? Like that sort of thing. And then practicality being like, if we're talking to about some of the stuff through the day would be, shrink teams to 2 to 3 man teams. Really you should run single to 3 man teams, and then
or most likely scenarios
with pistols through a building. And then because most of those guys are concealed carrying handguns, right? And that's what you're going to have in the moment of this sort of thing. And so, I think that most applicable training is to run pistols, run a Mantis system, run a gel blaster, whatever.
I was like, Mantis system is sick. A good amount of guys had Mantis system.
Oh yeah,
it was awesome.
I'm
going to save up for one now.
I was about to say, after I saw that too, I thought like, as the trainings continue forward, that should almost be
mandatory,
a potentially mandatory item.
It's just $300.
It's a lot of money.
There's a lot of boys who ain't got that cash.
So it is a lot of money. So mandatory might be a sharp word, but I'd be like, if you want to keep training seriously this way, it puts your weapon in safe, and then also like the laser that comes out of it, it's super awesome. It's super
great
accurate.
Feedback.
Yeah. So great feedback on how accurate you are, what's happening, and so
I think it was one of those things too where like we're talking about a higher level course here soon,
right?
Of taking people who passed, quote unquote, passed this one, right? And would be interested in more.
Yep.
We do, and then I think it makes sense at like a higher level, right? Like, hey, if you want to do your 200, 300,
do. If this is something you want to train and do and keep doing, it's a good tool. And so I think that most applicable, use a pistol. And then also, out more like if you're doing outdoor stuff, field stuff, like run the ARs. And then, like we said at the beginning of this, which was, there is a piece of this doing it just because it's freaking feels cool.
Feels cool. So, it feels sick to have your AR and be clearing in.
So
right?
run the AR, be proficient with that as well. But I think 2-man pistol teams are the ultimate training in that situation for really getting what might actually could potentially happen and what you're going to need to do. Then moving to I was thinking about this same thing for our church security. I'm like, we're going to come run this here at the shop. We're going to come run 2-man pistol drills.
Yep.
Because
excellent.
That's going to be a really good training, really fun time, and pretty applicable. And so I think that
I was going to say too, what do you think the odds are that we could get into the church to run some CQB? Because I think it'd be
we meaning the group that trained here or our security team?
Our security team.
Our security team, yes, we could do that.
Because I think that's the most... Hold on. If you guys hear that, that's my dog Takani just excitedly slapping her tail against the table. So Pat will give her some pats. But yeah, I think it's one of those things where that if I mean, honestly, it's a toss up, right? Am I more likely to do CQB in my house out in the country? Mm-hmm. Or am I more likely to do CQB at the church, which is in the downtown area of a community who's not very church friendly, right? Like, it's no secret that like our town doesn't view churches very positively, right? And so I think like it's almost more likely that I'm going to be running CQB style clearing from a position where I'm already inside the building. And I need to now make sure the building is secured and safe as I'm evacuating people, which I think would be pretty fun. And I think it would be pretty advantageous for our team to do so.
No, for sure.
And that's going to be with pistols too. Like we don't have a locker of ARs and shotguns at the church.
Exactly. And I think going back into the weapon handling of the dudes, it's like,
yeah, I guess you didn't. I was just curious.
Yeah.
You saw me running. How bad was it with the flux? Like, did you see a lot of stuff where I was choking up hard on that flux going around the corners?
Well, I think that's the nice thing of the advantage of the flux is it's so short. No, you probably weren't getting choked up. What I didn't notice or see was if, like you said, you were able to switch sides as you came around stuff. I didn't see how effective that was or wasn't. Where, like we were talking earlier with the video of the guy where you might think that you're clear, it still might be your head going through first instead of your gun. And so, but for all these guys, like, you have to sit with your gun for a long time and switch it back and forth onto each shoulder. Practice pulling your weapon in to walk through a door. Practice with your offhand, and just practice manipulating your weapon more until it's literally so natural that it's a part of you if you want to do this thing. And, don't work on the John Wicky type things of your speed reloads or flicking a mag out with your, instead of pulling a mag, like flicking it out and throwing it back in or whatever. Like, so many different things you could be like that feel cool. Like, the coolest thing to do, and what I was running for a while was, and this goes into also how to put your weapon away on you, was AR with a sling. Practice pushing your hand, basically putting it in all positions, having it up in your strong position, having your sling where you can manipulate your weapon to your offhand shoulder, being able to low port your weapon in front of you, push a hand through, and high port your weapon at your back, so that you can, it's especially if you're running slings, get comfortable with all of the pieces of it too, because you get tangled up in a sling real fast, and also work on being able to make that an appendage of yourself, so you can push it to one shoulder, push it to your weak side, push it to your strong side, while keeping your dominant hand on and all that stuff. And then that's just going to make everything else so much smoother, where you're not overthinking or having to think about all those things. But then there does need to be some more, do the mental work around not just thinking about, don't just be target focused, target fixated. Don't be focused on what you think is the Call of Duty way to do this thing. Be focused on like what's safe for your team, knowing everything around you, that everything that's on you is squared away. And then
where's the need?
Yeah, and pushing through that there. And obviously, like I said at the beginning, I'd love to see a video of myself because I don't know what I was doing. It's easier said than done, but to get the reps in on that thing. And so if you want to be a CQBer and do, run the drills and all that stuff, like, then you got to do it and work on it, do repetitions. And the biggest thing we talked about at the beginning was the threshold stuff. Like, make sure you can't let your eyes be, your barrel has to be where your eyes are. Like you can't be peeking around corners without your weapon ready and that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think that just sitting there on your couch, standing in a mirror, whatever, and moving and manipulating, holding a weapon is going to be the best thing to always be aware of what you're doing and how it's happening. So then once you do it for real or in training, it just comes naturally.
Yeah, and I would say too, it practice the cool guy stuff, to an extent, right? Like, I do think, no one had to practice a single reload the whole time we were here, right? Mm-hmm. Because we were running with safety systems. Mm-hmm. So there was no really any way of getting an empty mag. But it is one of those things where I think, like, if you're practicing your reloads for competition, practicing your reloads for like field movements or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And firing drills, I do think those will be useful to you in a CQB environment if you have to do them. Mm-hmm. But the truth is like, hopefully in a CQB environment, one, there doesn't have to be a single shot fired. Two, if you're doing it, you don't have a lot of sustained fire, because if you're in a sustained firefight CQB, it's a bad day and like people effed up. Yeah. But no, yeah, I agree with you. Like, for the most part, is like, if you, and I would say I would even double down, is like, if you find yourself like, oh, what Pat just said, like, give up the cool guy shit to practice CQB shit. Like, look, if you want to do John Wick, do some USPCA competitions. Like, mm-hmm. Those are set up with, fake walls and barricades, and the cardboard targets aren't shooting back. And you get to shoot sometimes 8 to 20 targets, mm-hmm. depending on the course of fire. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of sick stuff. And you're moving fast. You're going around. You're doing fast reloads, and you can even do 3-gun, where you're firing and transitioning from 3 different weapon platforms, mm-hmm. to engage various targets, and you really feel like John Wick. I ain't real, man. You ain't doing that in a CQB scenario where you have to go around corners and you realize, plywood and sheetrock isn't stopping 9mm, let alone 5.56 or 300 blackout or buckshot. Mm-hmm. And so it's one of those things of like, you be clearing corners like John Wick, you're going to be catching rounds through walls. Mm-hmm. And you're going to be very upset when you come around one corner and you don't see the dude wedged between the fridge and the wall with a 12 gauge pointed at your noggin. Mm-hmm. And so there's a methodical science to it. Listen to the dudes who do the science, and listen to them when they say you're dead, and learn from it and have an open mind. And you can have a really fun time and really grow your skills. But I think that's ultimately my last thing. Like, right, until I get more training, I'm just going to continue to practice and rehearse. I've been doing a lot of reps this week, though.
Oh, nice.
And on Sunday, I went with a really good pistol competitive shooter. We're training for the Modern Samurai Project's Black Belt.
Oh, nice.
The Modern Samurai Project is this training course that goes around the country, and they tour. Mm-hmm. And if you go to their course, which is like $500 to $700, it's usually like anywhere from like 2 to 3 days. And it's a lot of like really high level pistol skills and fundamentals. You get to also test for the belts while you're there at the course. And let me read the black belt qualifications to you. This dude I went with he's a phenomenal guy. I'm not going to name him because I don't know how he feels about being named on, a podcast and stuff. But he has easily the best attitude of anyone I've ever trained with and anyone I've ever received training from. Just super encouraging and optimistic, and super enthusiastic about like, having somebody else to train with and practice with. And he made me drag my ass out in like 9-degree weather with snow out into the hills to do pistol fire. So I know he's very serious, and he now knows I'm very serious. So, black belt standards, 4 drills. Okay. First drill, 3 and 2 drill, 3 yards, 3 shots to the alpha zone, the A zone. Then transition to 2 rounds on the head box 3x5 card. 2-second part time from a concealed draw. So that's drawing from concealed, 1, 2, 3 A zone, 1, 2 head at 3 yards.
That's fast.
1 shot at 7 yards into A zone, par is 1 second from concealment. Build drill, 7 yards, 6 shots, A zone, 2 seconds. And then the last drill is 1 shot, 25 yards, 1 shot to the A zone. Par is 1.5 seconds.
Wow.
So we're training hard, and I'm training with the expectations of going for black, and I will be content if I get any of them. Because even blue belt is your first drill, the 3-2 at 2 seconds. The blue belt, which is the lowest belt, is a 3-second par. So most of these you don't even get like a whole another second added on. So blue belt is still crazy hard and significant to get. And the dude I'm training with, he's like 3/4 black belt. He pulled 2 shots when he was doing his black belt for the build drill because he was going so fast. But I shot with him. He's a real deal. He's pretty squared away. And I've been practicing. I hung up a target in my basement. I'm using my rangefinder to make sure I'm at the proper range for testing the various drills. And I've been doing my draws. I'm getting a lot faster. Dry fire mag, it helps a ton. But yeah, dude, I'm pretty stoked. I had a very shooting full weekend.
Yeah.
A very big gun weekend.
Yeah, you did.
It was really fun. But, well, I don't know, Pat. I think we kind of covered everything, but, you got any final words here for people who want to get into these skills? You got any final words for the dudes who might be listening?
Oh, yeah.
That were there that day, because a good amount of them enjoy the podcast.
No, for sure. I appreciate the instructors who came out and their expertise, and that was definitely generous and awesome for those guys to, come spend their time with us. And for all the other guys who came, I think that it was a good group of guys, super fun to, even just camaraderie, fellowship, hanging out, doing something fun, doing guy stuff is super awesome. And I think that what I saw a lot of guys with kind of all different backgrounds, different walks of life, different skills, and just wanting to improve on their skills. And it was a good time. I'd say like if there was anything to like be like just say to encourage, it'd be like if you want to do training, take it seriously. Not that guys didn't, but take it. You can always take something more seriously, push yourself to learn more, work on stuff on your own, off time. Let the guys who know what they're talking about say what let the guys who know what they're talking about teach, and let yourself be critiqued, because that's going to ultimately be for your betterment, because none of us are perfect yet or even great yet. And so being critiqued in a training environment is the point. And so allow that to not make you think that you're not good enough or that you don't want to come back, but that you just have more to strive for, and that's the whole point of being there.
Yeah, I think my feedback for the instructors too was that the instruction was great. Be confident with your instruction that you have something to teach. I think there was a couple times where I felt like someone might have not said something had I not asked. And I want those guys to grab me by, my harness, my chest rig. Like, look, dude, I got something to tell you. And I want it I want to be instructed and molded. You know what I mean? And so for those of you who are instructors, know that you have things to say that are valid and educational. At the same time, the flip of that, which is kind of like a paradox, is that be aware of the too many chiefs in the teepee issue. And there were several times where I think there was a breakdown that was 15 minutes too long because there was too many instructors trying to share their piece of the pie when they're kind of repeating what someone else said.
Right.
And it was one of those things of like, be aware of that syndrome, because if there's too many chiefs in the teepee giving too much instruction, they start to overlap on one another or maybe contradict.
Yep.
And they also start to like have to tune one out to listen to the advice of another one. And you pretty much are just like going to make a decision like, all right, I don't like the way that guy talks. I'm going to listen to this guy. And that's an unfortunate thing. But I would say, honestly, like sometimes it's best to wait to speak and listen because someone might have already said what you want to say.
Yeah, definitely. And the other piece being too, might have something great to say, but people can only take on so much information at one time to then implement that into the training. So if it's, especially in any situation, especially a beginner situation where it's like, if you're got to work at one thing at a time versus having an additional 10, 15, 20 things in that moment to now think of the next time you do it, so that'd be like, even if it's good stuff and it was all good stuff, it's information. You can't have information overload where it's like, okay, now I was just barely holding my crap together. Now I got to think about all these other things that are now going to be, really not conducive to a good training and good retention. That'd be the big thing, retention on those things.
Yeah, be gentle with the babies while you teach them. Alrighty. I think that's it. Pat? Classic sign off?
Just till next time.
Till next time.
Thanks for tuning in. If you love this episode, drop us a review. If you have qualms or comments, leave us a voicemail on our website. While you're there, check out our latest news, merch, and deals from our sponsors. Till next time, Ken.